Hello, my name is Tom Jobe. Today, as part of Bill Pitts' ongoing series of drag racing history videos, I'm going to talk about the Surfers team. Let me introduce the people that are involved here. Bill Pitts, I first talked to him about 25 years ago. He just called out of the blue and explained that he wanted to capture all of the drag racing history that he and his father used to come to the drag races when he was young. He has great videos and pictures and memories, and he wanted to capture it before it all got away. And this is 25 years ago. And he was thinking about doing it with film. And the technology just wasn't there to really do it properly or efficiently, and he didn't know how to do it, and but he wanted to pull this off. So anyway, over time he has pulled it off, and he also along the way invented the Cackle Fest idea to get the old cars together, put people in them, run the motors, and people have really enjoyed that. And so anyway, that brings us all the way up to today, and Bill has been doing hundreds and hundreds of these videos with different people. They're not intended to be well produced. They're intended to capture drag racing history because the generation that I'm part of is starting to wither away. Anyway, so Bill Pitts is the mastermind behind this thing, and he's sitting behind the camera that I'm talking at. Okay, his longtime friend, John Phillips, is also here, and he's behind another camera that is going to be filming the third member of the production crew here. And the third member is Bob Higginson, and he's younger. He's about 50, I'm thinking, and he grew up on the west side of LA, so he knows about all of this from when he was a small kid. The older kids would talk about what was going on at all the drag races and who beat who, and so he knows all of this from way, way back, and he has a deep interest in the history of drag racing. And so he's going to be here today. He is here today, and he's going to ask questions. He's going to participate in this whole process, and we've yet to figure out quite what we're going to do here, but these are the people, and this is sort of the plan.
Tom, I want to thank you for joining us today. I suppose the story should start at the beginning. For many people throughout history, there's a lot of examples of an overnight success, and for some people, the surfers are classified as kind of an overnight success. You kind of came out of nowhere, you dominated, and then you left the scene. But the story doesn't start there. The story doesn't even start in the 60s. The story starts in the late 50s with your first encounters with Bob Skinner. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, that's a good place to start. My family, we moved from Southern California to Northern California in 47, came back in 1957. And so here I am at Santa Monica High School, just for my senior year. And being a beach town, it takes the locals about a year to figure out you're not a tourist. And so it took a while, probably. So I start meeting lots of people and hanging around the drive-in restaurants. And
like the 19, that kind of thing?
The 19, oh God, they were everywhere. Santa Monica had, I don't know, 3 of them, I think. There was lots of them around. And of course I hit them all. Everybody did. I mean, that's what you did at night, drive around all of them and the street races and all this stuff, right? Watching, I'm just now getting out of high school, say in 58, right? And so anyway, in the course of hanging around the drive-ins, I meet Bob Skinner. And gradually I'm coming to know lots of the people. And Bob Skinner and I are kind of the most, I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but we're kind of the more technically interested of the local hot rodders. Very strong technical interest and less interest in some of the other aspects. And so we had lots to talk about. Anyway, we became very good friends.
And some of your other friends during that time, I mean, it was like a who's who. I mean, Craig Breedlove was around, but he had a different name then.
Yes.
He was Craig
Bowman.
Bowman.
Yeah.
Correct.
But he was older.
Mm-hmm.
And as were some of the others. Not much older, but when you're 17, or somebody who's 19 is a lot older than you are.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of deal. And then the west side would include everything north of the airport.
Yeah, but it was an incubation time for basically a who's who of who was going to be a big deal in drag racing, or all kinds of racing.
And actually, at the time, even were. I mean, some of the older guys like Gene Adams, those guys were already racing dragsters. Mm-hmm. Even the earliest freight train, well, they weren't called freight trains then, but John Peters, mm-hmm. Nye Frank, their earliest efforts. I think John Peters had a dragster when I got out of high school, and John Peters is exactly, or one day off of being a year older than I am, and he had a dragster.
Yeah.
And anyway, yes, you're right.
A lot of famous names were in this concentrated area.
Yes,
yeah.
In a very small area, there was lots and lots of people, which everybody around here calls it the west side of LA, just because it's west of downtown, I guess. It's really southwest, but oh well. So anyway, you come to meet all these people, and anyway, Bob Skinner and I ended up being good friends, and he grew up at the Red Apple Motel on Wilshire Boulevard in Santa Monica. His mom had run the place for years and years. She went to work there when his parents came out here from West Texas, and here's a picture of the Red Apple. Or a drawing, I guess it is, but that's very accurate. Okay, so Bob's parents came out here in the late 30s, maybe 1938, from West Texas, because there was all that Dust Bowl. It was a tough life back there. Mm-hmm. And his mom went to work at the motel, and in short order, she was running the place. And his dad went to work at Douglas Aircraft as a aircraft painter. Or maybe I don't know that he started there as a painter, but that's what he was in all the time I knew him. So Douglas Aircraft was the largest employer in Santa Monica. Anyway, lots of people there worked at Douglas Aircraft. And Douglas was a big employer in Santa Monica until the time came when they started making the jets, the runway wasn't long enough to get the jets in and out of the place. So then they had to transfer the production to Long Beach, Seal Beach, other places where they had bigger runways. And so gradually it kind of withered down, and then Douglas was gone. But that took many years for that to happen. But anyway, his dad retired out of there in about what year?
And his name was Otis, correct?
Otis Skinner, yes. Anyway, so Bob grew up at the motel. He always lived at the motel. And his mom was just a sweetheart. Just a wonderful person. Boy, you didn't mess with Mrs. Skinner. Did not even think about messing with Mrs. Skinner. And she was so nice to everybody. And since I was Bob's friend, I was automatically included. I mean, got invited for Christmas dinner and everything. And Bob always lived there, and when he was a little kid, there was some garages at the Red Apple, and he always had at least one of them, even when he was a very small kid. And then later, when he needed more room, he got two of them. So he always had a place that was his to do whatever he wanted, right? Mm-hmm. And so that ended up being sort of like the headquarters for a bunch of us. We'd go hang out at the Red Apple and just work on our cars or just hang out or whatever, you know. And so I don't know what happened, but at some point we ran out of brains and decided we'd build a dragster. And we were big drag racing fans too. We went to the drag races, and then we'd all week long we'd talk about what we saw and how we thought it could be done better, what was positive, negative, just what could we learn from this with no, not even dreaming that we would ever use any of this. It was just kids talking, you know, and just being interested in the process of what was going on out there. And I had been very interested. My first drag races were probably, the first drag race I went to was probably, I don't know, maybe when I was 12 or 13. And I couldn't tell you which the first one was. Probably Little Bonneville in San Jose, California was probably the first drag strip I went to. Kingdon, which was also called what? What's the other name for Kingdon? Anyway, Northern California.
I'll put it up there.
At one point, I got a chance to go to Paradise Mesa down by San Diego on a trip to visit a friend of my brother's. I think we went there in '54, so I would have been 14, 13 or 14, probably 14. And anyway, I got to go to Santa Ana, but it was always just hit and miss whether I could go, because my parents they didn't take you anywhere. If you had to luck out on some other program to get anywhere, right? So.
But your brother was interested in drag racing as well, correct?
My brother was very interested in drag racing, but mainly in street racing. He loved to street race. He raced 7 nights a week, and one night at the drag strip and 6
on the street.
On the street. He had a tough time keeping his license, and he loved it. And there was lots of street racing going on in those days. Anyway, so Bob Skinner and I, we would go work on anybody's car just for the experience. Go help. We were involved in lots of projects. And anyway, at some point we run out of brains and we jump the fence, so to speak, and you know, we're going to build this drag strip. But then, well, gee, wonder how we're going to build it. You know, we don't know how to build it. But there was all these older guys that did know how to build it, and so we'd go around from garage to garage and ask questions till they throw us out.